However, the equips individuals with the knowledge and the skills needed to participate meaningfully in the economy, reducing income inequality, and promoting social mobility. And therefore, the questions about the continued financial aid, Madam President, remain poor, whereas as a country, we hold the largest iron ore batteries, but we are not the largest investors or manufacturers of lithium batteries in this country. Is to court, and you are tied up to such an extent that you could not mine, and then you ask yourself, and I've asked myself the other time, are the whales more important than the economy and the poverty levels of the people of South Africa? And those are the conversations that must be had. So the conversations we must be starting to have, and I argue the same around your coal, to say there's clean, less expensive and more available, but if we can innovate, we can make that technology more available, and we continue to benefit from our coal resources, fluorspar, any other rare mineral we have, platinum, and so forth that we have in this country, as we not only mine and export raw minerals, but also push the level of beneficiation in this country. And therefore, the conversations I would want BBC to have next year, it's about how do we facilitate the participation of black intellectuals and black scientists, there are plenty, and support them to make sure they can then innovate on technologies that will enhance the economy and areas where black participation is huge. It is no question in this country that in the mining sector, in coal in particular, the dominant prematurely capped mining of coal, it will mean we are capping the participation of black people in that sector or in that industry. And therefore, the conversations that must be had is to say, how do we mine coal and other mineral resources sustainably using technology? Because it's also affected by its ability to facilitate domestic investments as well as attract foreign direct investment. Therefore, South Africa's political stability, sound governance, and commitment to the rule of law are crucial in attracting foreign investment, and operations ensure that South Africa's integration into the global economy while protecting its domestic industry, all goal of an inclusive level, its localization drive. It will be important to check the goals of inclusive growth in the localization programs, but also protect the participation of previously or historically disadvantaged, in particular women, youth, and black people in general. Therefore, having said this, what is the future political economy of South Africa? Assessing the future political economy of South Africa requires careful consideration of various factors. It is important to note that, with that in mind, here is my view on the direction of South Africa's political economy. One, inclusive growth and economic reforms. South Africa will continue its pursuit of inclusive growth, addressing income inequality and skills development and entrepreneurship, with a particular focus on youth, women, people with disabilities, and historically disadvantaged individuals in general. Two, economic diversification. As the nation seeks to reduce its reliance on finite resources and adapt to changing global emerging sectors such as renewable energy, technology, tourism, services, and green economy to increase their contribution to South Africa's economy, given our endowment in natural resources and the beautiful climate, albeit affected by climate change. Communication is vital for economic realization, trade facilitation, and regional integration, while also addressing historical disparities in access to services. Anti-corruption and governance, tackling corruption and strengthening governance structures will remain crucial for South Africa's political economy. Continued efforts to combat corruption, enhance transparency, and improve accountability are essential for attracting domestic and foreign investment, fostering trust, and ensuring efficient resource allocation. 5, social welfare and poverty alleviation. Reducing poverty and improving social welfare programs will remain on the political agenda. This could involve expanding social safety nets, improving access to quality education and healthcare, and implementing targeted intervention system that aligns with industry needs and equips students with relevant skills can bridge the gap of high youth unemployment system, will emphasize technical and vocational training, entrepreneurship, and digital literacy education to enhance employability and drive economic growth. 6, foreign relations and trade. South Africa's political economy will be influenced by its trade relationships and regional integration efforts. Strengthening trade agreements will feature promptly in South Africa's economic strategy. Without being true, it's Germany or the European Union and Germany, followed by the US and then China. There are sectors where China is coming through, but also the Arab nations are coming very strongly in certain sectors. So South Africa cannot afford to use its national interest that will grow its economy. We cannot be friends with people who do not invest in this economy, or the economic relation policy is driven by our economic interest and national interest, because for us the primary focus is South Africa, and therefore will remain committed to participate in any solutions to find global peace, because it's only in conditions of peace that part of the problems and challenges that we have in Africa, the conflicts that are in Africa, there are not in the next, how many years, 6 years or 7 years, will be the largest, will hold the largest population in the world, and therefore will possess the greatest market for goods and services and consumption. Secondly, South Africa, as a just the economic, the world economies to prosper. It should be interesting if you look at the countries where there are conflicts and the insurgent gold, platinum, and other rare minerals, and gold mine, and you know what informs certain things. When they are declassified, and you know what informs certain decisions. And I must clarify, South Africa's support for peace, and you cannot mediate peace when you are a party or a supporter in Ireland, in Northern Ireland, between Sinn Féin and the Catholics in Northern Ireland. So it's not new that we come in, that we are chastised to say, why do you want to play in that space? You are a small fish. We have never been a small fish. Our peace mediation initiatives are known globally because that is the hallmark of our freedom. Our freedom was negotiated. And so when we sit here and start to say, and the parties that are at conflict and the supporters of both parties are not willing, without a push by non-aligned parties, truly non-aligned parties, to come to the table. And the appreciation that the efforts of our president and the other 6 African leaders continued to be requested. Poverty, even in their own home. France, we are confronted with diseases and pandemics that are necessary, that instead of spending of the pandemic of COVID-19 and other emerging pandemics. And the notion that our position of non-alignment is compromising our participation in AGOA is not true. Of inequality and levels of poverty, country scenario reconsideration or Ukraine, it started in 2019. We were given the notices, and the economic envoys of the president were running around telephone diplomacy people. We only know something or interested on something when there is a crisis or when there's a purported scandal. Whoever shouts the loudest. That our ability, last year we should have communicated better and explained better what informed our position. So we are improving, bears the brunt of how we are treated globally. Things to clarify some of these issues that confront our country, so that you can hear it, as they say, from the horse's mouth. 7, and my last view of the things that are the future and direction of this country, is technological investments or advancements impact South Africa's future political economy, encouraging innovation, fostering digital literacy, and promoting the growth of the technology. Recognize that Whereas this assessment is based on current and planned policy interventions, South Africa's future political economy will be shaped by a multitude of internal and external factors. The country's ability to effectively navigate challenges, implement reforms, and leverage its strengths will play a pivotal role in shaping its economic trajectory in the coming years. Central to this is a narrative of innovative policies that will promote redistribution, empower marginalized communities, and foster sustainable economic development. Ndoribo.
Address, I think the outlook in terms of your assessment includes economic inclusivity and the promotion of of not being given opportunities. And introduce the panelists. I'm going to call up the panelists. Each panelist will be given 5 to 7 minutes to express their views on the political economy, but also to comment on the keynote address by the minister. Our first panelist needs no introduction. It's Mr. Mcebisi Jonas. He's our former Deputy Minister of Finance and currently the chairperson of the MTN Group. Welcome on stage, Mr. Jonas. Of the National Youth Development Exara. Welcome on stage. Then our last panelist is Mr. Zev Krengel, Vice National President of the SA Jewish Board of Deputies. Welcome on stage, sir. So, without further ado, I'm going to call upon Mr. Mcebisi Jonas to give us his views on the economy and comments around the keynote address. Thank you.
Thank you very much, moderator, and the ministers present. Let me all salute you. The president of BBC, the executives and management, thank you very much. Let me be short on salutations. Can I start off by saying that, Minister, I think you delivered a quite comprehensive outline of the political economy issues and how you see the future of South Africa. Can I start off with the easier part? I concur with you that, in essence, your framework for political economy is correct, because I think what, in essence, you're talking about is the intersection between politics and the economy. That's, in essence, political economy. Of course, underlying that are institutions, their performance, interest, etc., etc. You have a lot of things that you built into that, are part of your presentation. And to accentuate and elucidate your presentation, put forth 7 conundrums that the country faces. I'm doing this because I think that if we are to move forward as a country, we probably need to have a consensus, a national consensus around the 7 conundrums. You could add other conundrums, as it were. And if we are to move towards a better functioning and a better performing country, to use your phrase, a better life for all, we need seriously to contend with the 7, I think, core conundrums that the country faces. If I have time, I will elaborate, but I won't elaborate. Sbu, don't be worried. The first conundrum that I think we need to contend with as a country is that of growth, the growth conundrum. Now, this is not something, I would argue, that affects South Africa only. The global economy is registering tepid growth amidst high inflation, triggered by war in Ukraine, with low growth, especially in our traditional partners in the EU and the West. There is an emerging phenomenon globally, which is called friendshoring, where trade and investment follow political allegiance, and the weaponization of trade agreements. That's probably the major threat to our economy. We have a small, open economy that really depends on external trade and exports to grow. So that's something that I think in how we grapple with global politics, we need to actually anchor into our heads. South Africa is in a difficult space, dependent on the West to maintain current trade and investment relationships while pushing what the minister called non-alignment stance, which in essence is multi-alignment, that you would maintain your trade relations with the West, and we will continue to maintain our relationship with China, and we will continue to sit with BRICS, which is multi-alignment in essence. I'm sure you in the room there are diversity of views on the issue, and I'm not even causing controversy around it. But I want to underline one point, though. If you are to succeed as a country in approaching and dealing with the current geopolitical system that's emerging, national interest must drive what we do. So, and that's probably where South Africa, I would argue, is at its weakest, that we have no strong articulation of national interest. We don't have consensus across the board of what constitutes national interest. And I would argue that in navigating the new waters globally, we need to do that as quickly. Our growth in South Africa, again, to accentuate the point made by the minister, is so tied to global demand, global commodity demand and trade. That is why I think since 2012, our trajectory was that of low growth. But I'm emphasizing the importance of growth because without growth, let's be clear, there can be no transformation. Without growth, unemployment suffers. Without growth, there is no revenue for government. So growth is something that we cannot take for granted. And I want to argue that we clearly need all national growth agenda for South Africa. That would be the first conundrum. The second conundrum is our environmental conundrum. We have we are like many other countries in developing countries. We have the scenario where our economy